Hey, Miss Elizabeth, what is up? What you doing? I'm on a live now. I haven't seen you in a long time. I miss you and your daughter, so I hope you guys have been doing well. You see, I've been doing these lives every now and then, so I'm trying to do more lives and trying to do, I have a YouTube channel now, and just trying to do more stuff to try to help people if I can. Usually if you see me hop on a live in the morning, it's usually me trying to encourage people. That's usually what I'm doing, like trying to encourage people, trying to lift people up, trying to motivate people, all that kind of stuff. So just trying to keep people up. That's what I usually do in the morning if you see me hop on a live. Good evening. So in the mornings, that's what kind of lives I have. I'm going to start doing lives on Sundays too. Not every Sunday, because I don't work on Sundays anymore. Every blue moon I might work on a Sunday, but it's rare. So on Sundays, I'll be doing something too. I'm going to start doing something. My whole thing is I want to encourage people, because I know we all need to be encouraged. We all need to be lifted up. We all need, motivation. We need it all. So, especially right now, it's so much going on in the world right now. It's really a lot. So sometimes you don't always, I tell people on the live, sometimes you don't get the encouragement that you need sometimes, or you don't get the encouragement that from people that you may think that you're going to get it from. Like, you may feel like, oh, I'm going to get encouragement from her over here, or I'm going to get it from mama, or I'm going to get it from dad, or, whomever. But sometimes you don't get it from the person who you think you may get it from. God may just use somebody else. So you just never know where and who you're going to get the encouragement from. So usually, so I'm going to start this Sunday thing because I love people. Love people. So I'm always going to be trying to do something to try to encourage people. And then, not sure how often I'm going to do that one. But if and when I do it, I'll make sure I schedule it like I did for this one today. And then I want to get, thanks for joining, I want to get into some, thanks for joining, I want to start getting into doing some entrepreneurial stuff. I want to start doing some entrepreneurial stuff. Y'all let me know if you can't hear me that good. Hold on a second, let me close my door. So I want to start talking about business ownership and stuff like that. Not saying I know it all, but I did have a storefront for 13 years. And before I opened my storefront, I had a salon suite. A lot of people don't know that. But before I opened SUGARSALON, I had a salon suite in Duluth. And I had it for 2 years because I was in corporate America like 20 years or more. I worked at Equifax like 9 years, GE, ADP, the payroll company. I worked in corporate a long time. And when I worked there, those companies, they were either Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 companies. I don't know what they rank at now. It's been a while because I came out of corporate in 2006 and went back in the hair. So got married in 2003. Because in 2002, I was working at Singular Wireless, and that's how I met my husband, at Singular Wireless. So I met him there. So I came out of corporate in 2006 and went back in the hair, and then I had a salon suite for 2 years. Was in it. Before I got the salon suite, though, I worked in a couple of salons. So I've been in the hair industry for a while. Came out of cosmetology school in 1981. And anytime that you are a hairstylist, you are pretty much a business owner. And it's a revelation that God gave me the other day, like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, why didn't I even get this revealed knowledge, before I had my storefront? Or, but with God, everything has to do with a time and a season, right? So it was so deep, and I'm thinking, why didn't I ever think about this? Ever. So I'm going to share with you guys, and then this whole thing, I'm going to be talking about entrepreneurship, and just giving y'all some little tidbits, and then I'm going to see how this entrepreneurship live go. I'm going to try to get the momentum going with it. If you know anybody who you think might be interested in doing it, just tell them, give them my Instagram page. My whole thing is whatever I have learned and whatever wisdom I have, I've been trying to find a way to pour it out onto people, because that's who I am. And I feel like whatever spiritual test that God allowed us to go through and we pass, and he said, that we are delivered by the blood and by our testimony. So we cannot have a testimony without a test. So whatever test that we go through and we pass is because we're to help the next person. At least that's how I feel about it. So, whatever help that I have, whatever wisdom I have, about business ownership, I do want to share it, but one thing that God revealed to me like a couple of weeks ago, like I was talking about, and it has to do with the hair industry, because that's the industry that I'm in. And so when God revealed it to me, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this? Like, it makes perfectly good sense. Because I have the two sides of it, where I worked in corporate and a long time, making exceed expectations all the time on my evaluations, exceeding the expectations. That's just the work ethic I have, the business acumen that I have. That's what I do. So that's what I did. Not bragging, just telling the truth. So what God told me, he said that, okay, let me lay it out for you guys really quick. So, when you go from first grade to the 12th grade, then you graduate the 12th grade, and then you get your cap and gown, they call your name, you walk across the stage, everybody's name, you get your diploma, everybody's name is called, you go back to your seat. After they call everybody's name, you throw that ugly hat up in the air, you make sure you say that tassel. You put that tassel on your car rearview mirror. All that good stuff. You know what we did. With cosmetologists, hairstylists, it's the same thing. 12 years, we threw our little ugly hat up in the air as well. We kept our tassel too. But the difference is, most people when they graduate high school, they're either 17 or 18 years old. Either 17 or 18. So if you decide to go to college and get a 4-year degree when you get out, then that means when you get out of college, you probably was 22. Most people going to be 22, 23 when they get out of college. But with cosmetologists, hairstylists, we go to school for 1 year. You go to school for 1 year, and then when you get out of cosmetology school, you're actually a business owner. You're actually self-employed at that point. You're actually, 1 year later, you're pretty much a business owner. Pretty much. Because no matter whether you work in a commission salon or whether you work in a storefront, booth rental salon, you still pretty much running your chair. You know what I'm saying? You servicing the customers. You taking, if you take 4 hours to do a customer, another stylist may take 2 hours, you're running your chair, right? But in corporate America, you always have the potential to go higher. You always got a potential to go higher. So you can always go higher in corporate America. Don't forget, I worked in there over 20 years. So you can be in one department, in one group, and you can say to yourself, okay, I want to post out. I want to try to apply for another department. I want to post out. I'm going to apply for something else. And then you can get promoted in corporate. In corporate America, it's always opportunities for growth. But with hairstylists, we don't have that bulletin board that we can look on and see a job posted. And we can apply for the job, for the position. Only unless you're in like a corporate salon, like a Great Clips or some type of chain salon like that, where they hire you as an employee, where you're getting a W-2 form. Then you may have an opportunity to maybe promote to like a supervisor or a manager or something like that. And then they're going to pay you, probably hourly or maybe commission. But you're a W-2 employee. But 9 times out of 10, 99.9% of the time, if you're a hairstylist, you don't have those opportunities to promote like you do in corporate. You don't. And so that's why you always gonna hear hairstylists saying, I want my own salon suite or I want my own storefront salon. I want my own storefront salon or I want my own salon suite. They are gonna always be saying that. Always. Always, 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 always. Because of what I just said. No opportunity to go higher. So if you're a hairstylist, you're going to always feel like you stagnant. You're going to always feel like you're not getting anywhere. You're going to always feel like you're right here. You're going to always feel like you can't go up here. You're going to always feel like you're just complacent. Unless you get a salon suite or you get a storefront salon. When God told me that, I'm like, oh my God, this makes all the sense in the world. So they are always going to feel complacent. They're going to always feel incomplete. They're going to always feel stagnant. They're going to always feel like they're not going higher. They're going to always feel like just right here. Now in corporate, if you guys work in corporate, you know that that's not the case. You may apply for a position and not get it, and you may feel some type of way about that. But it's always opportunities. You always gonna see. Especially now, everybody hiring. Everywhere is hiring. But hairstylists, they always gonna feel like they right here. And because of that reason, they're gonna always try to get either a storefront salon or a salon suite. Now God revealed this to me like 2 weeks ago. And it makes all the sense in the world. Because I remember when I first opened my storefront and I was interviewing people trying to hire hairstylists. Everybody that I was interviewing for a hairstylist was saying they want their own salon. So I'm sitting here thinking, why are they saying that? I'm not hiring for a salon owner. I'm the owner. And again, I had been out of the hair industry for a long time, about a little over 20 years, going back into it. So I was naive about some things. So when I went back into it and I started, I got my storefront, I was all excited. I heard from God. He was like, get a storefront. I said, okay, God, if you let me get it, I'll be a blessing to anybody you bring. I'm going to do everything within my human power to help them. So I was very naive. I didn't know that everybody I was going to be interviewing was going to be wanting the same thing that I had just got. My husband and I had just got a storefront salon. So pretty much it's like if you hire, say for instance you own a bakery. Like you own a bakery, you make cakes, cupcakes, cookies and all that. But everybody that you hire, every single person in there wants a bakery. They all want to own a bakery. So you have all these people who you have hired, and they all want what you have. So with bearing that in mind, if you go into that situation with sober thinking, then you're going to know that you're going to have a revolving door. Because everybody who works for you, they're only in there until they feel like I'm out, or until they feel some type of way, or until they feel like I'm about to leave, or it's time to go, or I've been here too long, or whatever the case may be. So when God told me that, I'm like, that makes all the sense in the world. Like every bit of sense. So whatever business that you end up opening, it don't matter what kind of business it is. It don't have to be a hair salon. And whatever type of business that you're trying to get. And everybody you hire want that same thing. Because again, when I was interviewing, everybody was saying, I want my own salon. So I'm thinking, why are they saying that? Because I didn't ask them where they see themselves in 3 years, where they see themselves in 5 years, where they see themselves. I didn't ask any of that. I probably would have got to that, but they were all saying that they want their own salon. And that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, when you open a business, a small business, 9 times out of 10, no matter what type of business you open, you have to understand that probably most of the people you hire, they are going to want that same business as well. It just depends on the industry. But I haven't met too many hairstylists that have not want their own, and it's okay to want your own. But when God gave a revelation to me, if I had known that from the jump, then I could have been better prepared. And that's the reason why I want to do these entrepreneur lives, these entrepreneurship, because people are leaving their jobs and they trying to start businesses, no matter what type of business it is. You know, some people trying to do storefront, some people are not. They're calling it the Great Resignation. Now, when I opened my salon in 2008, 3 months after we opened, the Great Recession started. 3 months after we opened. I never had a storefront before. Never managed hairstylists before. Just have a love for people. I handle money well. You know, I had a lot of the root things that helps you own a business. Like the love of people, you know, discipline, you know, knowing how to handle your money, a good work ethic, good business acumen, knowing how to be on time, all of those type of things. The attributes that you need to be good with business ownership. Because a lot of people want to open a business, but I don't really think that they really understand. Because sometimes people can get motivated just by watching you. Sometimes people can be inspired by watching you, and that's fine. That's fine. But we're living in a day and times where people won't just come to you and ask you to mentor them. Because if you come to somebody and you ask somebody to mentor you, that means you first of all are saying to yourself that they have some wisdom that you are seeking. That they have some wisdom in an area that you don't. That they have a little bit more wisdom and knowledge in an area that you're seeking and you don't have. So that means that you have to give them their props. You got to give them their props. You got to say, okay, Miss Elizabeth, you know, you got this down with this running and this jogging and keeping yourself in shape. Here I am. I need to, you know, you giving somebody their props and they just do. Right? But we not in those days. Those were the days when I was young. That was back in the day. When people will say, girl, you so beautiful, girl, I just admire you, girl, can you, you know. And when people would have a mentor and ask you to mentor them, we not in those days and times. People they find it a challenge to give somebody their props or to ask you to mentor them, or, you know, people don't do that anymore because they feel like whatever they need to know, they can ask Siri, Alexa, Google, YouTube, anybody who ain't a human being. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You can find some information online and through all those sources that I just named. But one thing about those sources, you cannot have a dialogue. You got to talk to a human being to have a dialogue. You have to talk to a human to have a give and take. Like you can Google and say, oh, what do I need to do to start a new business? And you'll get all kind of links and you can click on them and read. You can read till Jesus come back. You know, when you was pregnant, I'm sure you read every book known to man about, oh Lord, is it going to hurt? All I hear is people saying it's going to hurt. You can read every book out here. But there's nothing like human interaction, human dialogue, where you can say, okay, Miss Maya, you came out of corporate, you weren't doing hair for so many years. You end up getting a salon. As soon as your storefront opened, 3 months later, the recession started. How did you survive that? And then that's when I'm going to tell you how. It's going to be some dialogue. Then I'm going to say X, Y, Z, Z, Y, X. And then you're going to be like a 1, 2, 3, you and me. And then it's going to be some back and forth. Whatever I tell you, you're going to be like, okay. Then you're going to have another question. And everything I tell you, it's going to provoke another question in you. That's the importance of human behavior, human interaction, supporting one another, being there for one another. That's the reason for that. Now, if the enemy, who I call the devil, can keep us separated and keep us hating and keep us envying and keep strife and discord, then God can't never get us to the level that he's trying to take us to. Because we just look and see what you got, and then we just want it. And people can envy the calling that God has on your life, that you don't even know God got the calling on your life. You the last to know. And people can be envious and jealous of the calling that you have on your life, that you're walking in, but you don't even know that you're walking in. But everybody see that you're walking in because the anointing and the calling that you have in your life makes it look so easy. And they can be a partaker of you lining up with that calling. You have chosen to have some faith and just step out and trust God and go ahead and do it. And they can be reaping every benefit known to man. Reaping, just being blessed miraculously, because that's how God operates through each of us. So they can be blessed out the wazoo. And they can risk losing everything, the blessing that they sat up under, because envy, jealousy, or everybody who works in that same cake bakery that you own, even though God done blew your little cake bakery up and everybody know about it, And he has blown it up. And they making everybody work there making all kind of money. Even the girl who just put the icing on the cake. She done blew up too. And that's why you hear about a lot of businesses, especially salons. I'm using salons for an example because that's what I do. You'll hear about this salon and everybody in Atlanta will be going to that salon. Everybody. You'll be like, hashtag this, hashtag that. Everybody go to that salon. You hear about this stylist, that stylist, this stylist. Everybody that work there be like, girl, you gotta go there, girl. That's it. That's the place to be. That's the next salon. You gotta go there, and your salon you can be just seeing the blessings of God and God just showing favor on your business. And then, once you get up to the highest high, when God is doing the most, and all the blessings are raining down on everybody who work there, that's when it's going to come to an abrupt halt. And then you're gonna be like, what happened to that salon? Everybody used to go over there. Not only on, where is the salon? Where, That's what's going to happen. That happens a lot in the hair industry. And it can happen in any industry. Anytime, I'm not trying to put doom and gloom on anybody who's trying to open a business, but I do want to be transparent, because if you're naive and you thinking that other people going to be happy just to see you blow up and see you making all the money, and see you making it look so easy, and see you walking in your anointing and walking in your calling and doing what you're supposed to do and doing what you know to do, you're going to be deceived. Now, people will stay there long enough if it's beneficial to them, but once they feel like they can make an exit, they out. And so as a business owner, especially if you're trying to get a storefront business, you have to know that. You got to know that up front. Because if you're prepared for something, if you're prepared for it, then you'll know. And then you'll set up your business model like that. If you go into it naive and just trusting people who you don't even know, people who are not even related to you or whatever, and you go into it and trusting people and being naive with a business, you have to handle a business like a business. Because if you don't, you're going to be deceived. You're going to be out of business. Because again, you got to understand, whenever you own a small business, and I'm mainly speaking about storefront businesses, or either small businesses that work out of the home too, once you start hiring other people, and when you have a storefront, you definitely have to hire other people. You can't pay all that overhead by yourself. But once you start hiring other people, then there's a potential for something to happen. Because then you bringing in all these people, and if they're not trustworthy, or if they're looking to have the same thing that you have, or they want to be out, they're going to be out by any means necessary. By any means necessary. They're going to have what they want by any means necessary, and it's going to be very traumatic to you. Because birthing a business is just like birthing a child. You carry your child in your womb for 9 months. You don't see the child. You ain't never seen them. You just see on a sonogram. I was about to say mammogram. You see on the sonogram. You name them. And then you birth them out of non-existence into existence. And you name the child. It's the same with a business. You birth a business in your heart, in your spirit, in your soul, in your mind. From the non-existent into the existent. You birth them from the spiritual into the natural realm to where it's visible. And then you name it. You name it. So just like you nurture that child and you rock that baby and you hold that baby and you raise that baby up and you nurture it, it's the same with a business. So just like people have dogs, you know, people have a pet, a dog, and they'll treat the dog just like it's a part of their family. And I be like telling my husband, these people need to be able to get these dogs a Social Security card so they can claim them. Because they treat it like a family member. It's the same with a business. You have lost sleep. The same way you lost sleep with your child, worrying about your child. You've lost sleep. You've lost weight. You've been stressed. It's just the same. It's the same. The same emotions, the same struggles, the same stresses. You go through stress. You go through everything. You go and somebody hurt your child, you be like, nah, I got to cut you. It's going to be traumatic. Traumatic. Because it's going to be like you lost a family member. You lost something you birthed from the non-existent into the existent. It was a thought on a piece of paper. It was not even in existence. You came out of where you were in corporate or wherever you were. You came out of there to just trust God and come on and say, God, I trust you. I'm going to go on with you. I don't know what the end going to be, but you do. So I'm going to come on with you. And so somebody hurt your child, what you birthed. They take from your child that you birthed. They defame your child that you birthed. Anything harmful to your child that you birthed, that's going to be extremely traumatic. Very traumatic. And I think when people think about opening businesses, because I didn't think about all that. I've always been the one who trusts everybody. I'm not going to distrust you until you show me something different. I'm always going to trust everybody. Always. From the jump. You really, really have to prove to me that you're untrustworthy. I'm not going to judge nobody or treat people no kind of different way based on what I hear or any kind of defamation or anything like that. I wasn't raised like that. That's not who I am at all. So, the same when I own a business. I'm going to trust you till I see you taking, stealing, defaming, or whatever you may be doing. Then I'm going to be like, wait a minute. Then that's where the trauma comes in, because you have birthed this out of your womb, which is your spirit, your spiritual womb. And you brought it into existence. And you held it, and you cuddled it, and you thought about it that day. And you thought about it at night, and you thought about it at lunchtime, and you were sick, and you didn't get no sleep, and you, same stuff. And people will come in who haven't done none of that, and be out, and take or whatever. So when you own a business, that's why they have so many business laws in place to protect businesses. And so I went way, way, way on a rabbit trail. But with entrepreneurship, to me, the first thing you have to decide on is what type of business you want. What type? Like what type of business? A hair salon, a nail salon, a weave shop, a cake bakery, a real estate agency, a marketing firm, like whatever type of business that you're trying to have. And then a good way to base it, and if you guys DM me, because I have all this stuff jotted down, so after the live, if you send me a DM, I can send you a message with all of this information. So number one is decide on what type of business you want. And make sure you hear from God on it, and make sure, and you're going to base it on... Base it on your personality. Base it on what you're passionate about. Base it on what you're expert in. And base it on what you feel like God is calling you to do. What type of business would God call you to do? What do you feel like God, it may be something like me. I never would have thought in a million years hair. I was the last to know. I'm still shocked because I was in the 11th grade saying I wanted to be a psychiatrist. In the 11th grade, I was saying that. Psychiatrist. Writing a prescription. A psychiatrist in the 11th grade. I don't even know how I end up wanting to do hair. I have no clue. I don't even remember. I promise y'all. But I do know how I ended up wanting to own a hair salon. Because when I first came out of cosmetology school and went into hair and started working in salons, in the first salon I worked in, I was treated badly. And I had went through a loss of my mom and my sister. I was young, a lot of trauma. And then when I saw how the hair industry was very cutthroat, I was just like, this is not the industry for me. So I did hair like 6 years, and then I went in corporate like over 20 years. I just felt like it was very cutthroat. Not me at all. Very unlike me. Like I ain't into stabbing people in the back, trying to defame people, trying to take, trying to put people in a situation where their business can't earn revenue, trying to agree into one thing with the owner and the owner keeping their end of the deal, but I'm doing something totally different. That's just not me. I learned the golden rule in the 3rd grade, which is do unto others as you will have them do unto you. And I think we had to repeat that like every day almost, or at least every Sunday at Bible, like children's Bible school. So it's ingrained in my brain, in my heart, and in my spirit. If I didn't bring it, I ain't trying to take it. Now, if you give it to me, that's something else. But if it's something that's going to harm you, I'm not trying to have that seed in the ground. It's always another way to handle it. It's another way to do it. Because I worked in a commission salon before, and the owner didn't even want me to be on commission because she was like, it's so much you got to track and keep up with. I'm like, well, if you let me do commission for 4 months, I'll do booth rental. Because that was when I was just going back, and thanks for joining, just going back into hair. So she ended up letting me do it because she liked my energy and all of that. So I worked there. She used to give me all these customers. Like everybody want to sew in. She gave them to me. That probably was in like the middle of 06. Around that time. Maybe like the middle of 2006. So when I left her salon, I was doing a lot of her customers. And one of the customers, her customer was like, I'm going with you. I'm like, And the lady and I, we hadn't discussed anything about the commission. I hadn't signed no non-compete agreement. I hadn't signed anything. We hadn't even discussed anything like that. We hadn't discussed anything like that at all. But when I left, and it was others, but this one particular girl, she really wanted to follow me. I was like, that is a negatory. Negatory. We can't do that. I'm like, because you're not my client. I didn't bring you. And then if I take you with me, that's going to affect her ability to earn revenue. And she entrusted me with her business. I'm like, and she just kept going on and on. I said, okay. You got to call her, talk to her, because for me, it's about that seed. I'm not trying to have no seed in the ground like that at all. And so she called her and talked to her and told her, and she was, because at the end of the day, you can have people sign this, that, and the third. people still will be in non-compliance to no-compete agreements. And even in Georgia, to be honest, you don't even have to have people sign anything. It's a legal term called fiduciary duty. I'm trying to see if I remember how to spell it. Fiduciary duty, that when you work for any type of business, you don't even have to sign nothing. You just have a fiduciary duty as an agent of the business to conduct yourself in a manner that would not harm the business. It's so many laws out here that protect small businesses and that protect your intellectual property. It's a lot of laws out here. Even in, like, for instance, in the state of Georgia, you know, anytime you steal any kind of money from any business, it's called embezzlement. So in the state of Georgia, if you steal $500 and up, you can be fined and serve 10 years in a federal pen for stealing $500 and up from a business. Because if somebody takes from a business, then that means you as the business owner, you cannot claim that you made this, that, and the third, because part of it was embezzled. So now who you think mad about this? Who do you think is mad now that you can't claim that you made thus and so, because part of the thus and so was taken? And you guessed it, Uncle Sam. Now he feels some type of way because you can't even put on your tax paperwork that you earned thus and so, because part of it was stolen. That's known as embezzlement. Then they have copyrights, they have trademarks, they have so many different laws. They have no-compete agreements, which anytime, to be honest, any type of business that you work at or any job that you work at where you get a commission base, usually you're going to sign a no-compete agreement. Because what happens is you're servicing the customers that the business has brought in, whether it be a real estate agent, whether it be salespeople, whether it be, you know, brokers, or you can be, you know, in the hair industry, and you don't, you know, I would have loved, in all honesty, to hire all booth rental people where they can just pay me a rent every week, pay me every week to rent a booth like I do in the salon suites I work in. And then they got to have their own merchant card payments. They got to accept their own payments. They got to have their own towels, their own products, their own color, their own customers, do their own market. You just hands off as the owner. They just pay you every week. That would have been like, thank you, Jesus, thank you. But when I started interviewing people, nobody had no customers. Nobody had clients. And my husband and I had already signed a lease, which a lease is 30 pages long or more. But you're trying to now hire for your storefront business that you have. And then nobody has no customers. Or you got this person who went to cosmetology school and then finished. This person who in school and they still in there. This person who went halfway through and then finished. This person who went, finished, but was too scared to go take the state board exam to get a license. This person who went, they finished, they got their license, they got all their ducks in a row, but they ain't got no clients. So none of those scenarios that I just mentioned is going to allow a salon owner to hire this person as a booth rental hairstylist. That's going to be a negatory. Because you can bring people in and you can fill up every station. But are you being paid? Are they paying you? every week they got an excuse why they can't pay. And then you become a bill collector on top of you already paying light, water, gas, everything. 4 different taxes, all kind of stuff. And now you got to be asking people, girl, don't, you didn't pay me last week. Then people want to be booking and flinching at you like they about to cut you and all this kind of stuff. And then another thing about the hair industry and the difference between the hair industry and corporate, in corporate America, when you get a job, when you apply, they're going to do a background check. They're going to check your employment record. They're going to check your criminal history. You're going to have to pee in a cup. All that. In corporate. In the hair industry, you can even go work in a salon suite. They not doing no criminal check. Like, the salons don't do that. Don't do no check at all. So sometimes you don't know who you hiring. You don't know what the background be. So I gave y'all those 2 things. And then the third thing about, trying to have a business, you need to decide if you want it to be a storefront, a home-based business, or an online business. Storefront, home-based, or online. And it just depends on what type of business you think that you're trying to have or you feel like God is telling you to do. Because some businesses you can do online, and then they have some, say for instance, if you have a business and you're going to have to meet with customers sometime, with clients, but you want to start your business off at home, like it's a business that you can do from home, because you're mainly doing WebEx or Zoom or Instagram Live, whatever you do. And it's mainly about, talking on the phone with people or corresponding, online through emails and stuff like that. Sometimes when you have that type of business, you don't really need a space. But when there are some times when you want to meet with people, you don't want to look unprofessional by always trying to meet at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or, Popeyes. I probably have people meet me at Popeyes. Because they'll come in there. I got grease all on my face. Love that chicken from Popeyes. So in that type of instance where you may be working out of your home and you ain't trying to bring people in your house, because I wouldn't. Sometimes they have these places that you can just, rent, like it's office spaces, and you just rent it like on the fly, or you just use it for that day. You can think of some names of some of them. I don't know if it's called WeWork or some places like that where you can just rent out and you just use the office, just for meeting somebody or something like that, because you definitely want to stay safe. So you can do stuff like that, and you can start your business, because every business don't have to have a storefront. Like I had 1,080 square feet. Everybody don't have to have that. The way the world is now, people are so used to not being, face to face, not sitting across the desk from somebody else. Like, people are used to that. So for anybody trying to open a business now, that works on your behalf. Because people, they don't care about coming and meeting you and actually shaking your hand and, seeing you and seeing what kind of perfume or cologne you wear. They don't care about that. Like, people will do it just like this online, WebEx, Zoom. So that's very, very beneficial to anybody that's trying to open a business and you really don't need a space. Really, really. And then online businesses, that's pretty easy. You just come up with your web, what you want your web address to be, your domain information and all of that, which you're going to need that anyway with any type of business. You're going to need that. Like the website that I use, it's specifically for hair salons and like the service industry, and I've used it for many, many years. And I love it because I can go on there and update it at any time myself. I like being self-sufficient. I prefer being self-sufficient. Even when I had my team, I prefer being self-sufficient. I don't like to rely. When you own a business, you don't want to have to rely on other people all the time, because that's going to affect your business and your brand. Like, say, for instance, if I couldn't update my website myself, and then I got to wait on somebody else to update it, we may be having, or I may want to have a special, for an upcoming holiday, and then I email the brother and tell him to update it, and then by the time he updated, the holiday is over. So that's the situation I'm talking about. Hold on, y'all. So I would recommend that you get some type of website that you can do your own updates. And so that may be something that you may not have thought of, but it's very important, because when you need stuff updated on your website and people just dragging their feet, that's going to affect your brand. That's going to make you look, your business look some type of way. You're going to be looking. And I always stayed on top of it. I did all of that stuff myself. All of that myself. Because I used to be in there and sitting in the salon on my MacBook and be like, typing like that. And folk be like, that can't be spelling nothing. I'm like, girl, I worked in corporate like 20-some years. I type fast, probably 90-some, 100 words a minute. So you always want to be growing, because at the same time, don't get yourself in a situation, don't even start off where you always going to be relying on other people for anything in your business, because that's when, your brand could be affected in a negative way, when it's just not a good look. And sometimes when people know that you're relying on them, sometimes they be slipping. Because like my mother-in-law told me a long time ago, it's easy for people to walk away from what they have not invested in. It's easy for people to walk away from what they have not invested in. It's easy for people to walk away from what they have not invested in. Because if you've invested in something, then you are risking a loss. But if you have not invested in it, you stand no chance of risking a loss at all. It's no loss to you at all. It's no loss for you to have a cake bakery and the person that you have working there making the cakes, and she's taking some of the flour home, some of the icing home, because on the side, on the low, without your knowledge as the owner, she's at home making cakes and selling them. Got an Instagram page and using your stuff. Using your stuff. So when you own a business, not that you want to take on everything yourself, but you want to, try to minimize as much as possible as everybody being so involved with your business. Because at the end of the day, you just teaching people to do what you're doing, and then if they feel like they don't need you or your brand anymore, they're going to be out. They feel like they got what they want, they learned what they wanted. And again, it's okay for people to have their own. I'm not against people having their own. I would never have a business, my husband and I, and expect people to stay there till Jesus come back. That's nonsensical. Like, we don't think that way at all. But you got to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then you don't want to burn a bridge at all, because you may have this great idea and feel like the Lord done rained down all the anointing that you need to do this, that, or the third. Thanks for joining. And you may end up, stepping out, and then it may not even work out. And then you may want to go back. And that's the whole thing about corporate America. I'm going to bring up corporate again. That's why in corporate America, the 2-week notice is huge. The 2-week notice is huge. The 2-week notice is huge. Because if you leave corporate and you don't give a 2 weeks notice, now you're burning a bridge. Now you're not rehireable. They gonna check that box that asks, are they rehireable? No. N-O. Nope. So people feel like they have the greatest idea ever, and they feel like they put themselves in a win-win situation that it's gonna be impossible for them to lose. You can feel like that all day, but how did you leave? Did you do unto that person as you wanted that person to do unto you? And people, they think that stuff is a joke. It is not a joke. Because at the end of the day, you're causing trauma to somebody else. Like I just mentioned earlier, when you birth a business out of your spirit, it's like birthing a child. You even name it. I sought God forever on what to name. SUGARSALON, I sought him forever on that. Like, what do you name it? You know, you have all this stuff in your spirit, all these ideas, and then you trying to figure out, okay, what do I name it? Is the domain available for it? The website domain? Is this available? You know, this is all the stuff you think, just like you're preparing them 9 months to have that child. And you like, okay, let me get the blankets. Let me get some diapers. Let me go ahead and get some formula. Let me get this over here. Same thing. And people hurt your baby and you like, now I got to cut you. So the first thing I said was decide on a business type. And then I was saying you might want to base it on like whatever type business you think you want. Base it on what you feel your personality is, what you're passionate about, what you're expert at, and what you feel like God is calling you to do. And then decide if you want it to be in a storefront, a home-based business, or online. Then the next one is a loan or no loan. A loan or no loan. Now, I'm going to tell you about me. I'm very type A. So I plan way in advance. Like before we even opened, I had already hired a whole team. Black, white, Asian, a whole team. They were already hired. When we was still getting the build out done. I had a whole team already in advance. Probably about 8 people. Two makeup artists. One of them will work for Fox 5, you know, like just already. That's just my personality. So I already had them hired. And we was getting the build out done because the storefront space that I got, it had never been a salon before. So that means we had to get plumbing. It's so much you have to do to open a storefront business because you got to have all these inspections done and you all nervous and stressed out because you hoping that you pass the inspection and all that. And so I already had a team hired, so I wasn't worried about that. But anytime they're doing a build out, it's always going to take a little longer than what you think. Just like I don't know if you ever had something done to your house, like your home remodeled or your bathroom remodeled at your house or anything where you got to involve contractors. They always going to tell you one date and it's going to be pushed back and pushed back. So by the time my salon was about to open, that's when we start hearing in the news Recession, recession, recession. That's when all you heard in the news was recession, recession, recession. That was in 2008. So all we was hearing is recession, recession, recession. Just like they saying now, we might go back into a recession. So everybody I had already hired, all them people I just told y'all about, they all backed out. They were all afraid to start working at my salon because it was a brand new salon, number one. And number two, recession. And I think at that time, nobody in my generation, I don't think, had experienced, none of the younger people had really experienced a recession. And I can't remember, I don't know when was the last recession before the 2008 recession. If anybody know, if you could put it in the comment if you know, please. If there was a recession before 2008, do you know when it was? So all the people I had hired, nobody started except for one girl, and she had so much fear. I was giving her all the clients. Because you got to understand, I had been out of hair for years, 20-some years. I had just came back in the hair. And so I had to relearn and everything. And she was a nervous wreck. She acted like she was the owner. I'm like, what you nervous about, girl? I'm just putting the clients in your chair. She was so sweet. I don't even know how to reach her. Her name was Valerie, and she's from North Carolina. We lost touch. I can't even remember her last name. But by that time, the lease was already signed, and my husband and I, we came out the gate doing a lot of advertising. Like, even though the storefront was on a very busy street, I'm not the type of person who think that just because it's on a busy street that people just gonna be coming all in there in my salon. To me, that's ridiculous. So we did a lot of advertising. We started off with like billboards. Like it's a big billboard on McGinnis Ferry. And at the time when we opened, that's when McGinnis, if any of y'all are familiar with that area, if you live in North Atlanta or in Atlanta, that's when McGinnis was just 2 lanes. And they was building it, and there was so much traffic over there, and it was just like ridiculous. But they had a billboard over there right by the Publix, and that was like $1,000-something a month for that billboard. So from the jump out the gate, we was doing a lot of branding and a lot of advertising. Because I promised God that anybody he bring there, anybody's daughter, son, whomever they may be, I'm going to do what all I can to help them. That's a promise I made to God. So as far as the loans, my husband and I, we didn't get a loan. And with me being type A, I had bought all of my stations and everything I needed. I had bought all of that in advance before the salon even opened. So when we opened, we didn't open with a lot of debt. We opened with no debt. Because I'm very, very type A. He's kind of like type B, but I'm A. So A just means that, you usually don't procrastinate. You do stuff way in advance. You like to prepare. You don't like surprises. You're structured and all of that. That's my personality. So we didn't get a loan. They also have like scholarships and other kind of stuff too. If you are a minority-owned business and maybe a minority-owned female business, there may be business loans you can get, scholarships you can get, other types of funding that you can get, to open your business or any kind of funding that you get. And, I just thought about just now, you know, I don't know if you're trying to be a for-profit business or a non-profit. Like, I'm sure y'all want to be for-profit. Excuse me. My congestion was so bad, it just came out of nowhere. Like, I went to the dentist, changing the subject, got my teeth cleaned today, and went to the dentist and last week, and they did a bunch of x-rays, you know, because with COVID, you know, and I don't be playing about my mask, and I don't play about the customer wearing a mask. But, you know, you feel some type of way when you got to go to the dentist, take your mask off, and they all up in your mouth and all that. But, you know, COVID, that's been a while. That's been over 2 years. So I'm like, let me get on up in here and to the dentist, because I'm always on my lives talking about, okay, y'all, God give us one head of hair, and it's a wig, by the way, and one set of teeth. I'm always saying that on my lives. God gives us one head of hair and one set of teeth, so you got to take care of them. So I went and got my x-rays and all that, and I've heard before the dentist tell me that my sinuses are my teeth are so close to my sinuses, and they like, do you ever have like sinus problems, headaches, and I'm like, well, my husband always called me his nasally friend, because he always say I talk out my nose, or I talk like I'm squeezing my nose like that. So I guess that's why I talk like that. That's a rabbit trail. Y'all can laugh if you want to. But yeah, you just have to decide if you want to be a for-profit or a non-profit. And I'm sure y'all want to be for-profit. I don't know who don't. Who don't want to make a profit? So like I said, loans or no loans, you know, do a lot of research, you know. Sometimes there's a lot of money available out here for like female-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. You know, you just have to do the research. It's money available out here. We didn't get any of it, and I didn't research myself. But I know that there's, you know, opportunities. So you want to research, you know, for scholarships, for you know, money and funding and support for minority-owned businesses. And then if you decide that you want to get a storefront business, you have to find the location, you know. Make sure that you look at the demographics in the area, because you want to open a business where you know that people have money to be able to pay for whatever type of business or services that you're going to offer. You want to make sure that people have the money, and that the demographic of people that you're trying to reach, depending on what type of business you're going to have, you want to make sure that they're there and they have the money, they can afford your services. Because when we open, we just start getting busy right away. And everybody coming out, I'm like, hey, y'all, how you doing? How your mama doing? You know, I love people. I'm from Georgia. An original Georgia peach, like they say, I grew here, you flew here. That's what I be telling my husband. You know that quote you be seeing online, on social media? They be telling me Atlanta is closed. I grew here, you flew here. So definitely location, location, location. And if you're trying to get a storefront business, they talk about INGRESS and EGRESS. INGRESS and EGRESS. What that means is just in and out. Like, you want to make sure that your storefront business that you have, that it's easy for clients to get in and out. And when I'm talking about in and out, I'm not talking about the front door. I'm talking about in and out of your plaza. Because sometimes it may be like a one-way street, or customers may have to make a U-turn to get to your plaza. You know, all of that is an inconvenience to customers. You know, it may not be a light. You know, you may be on a very busy street. You know, so you want to definitely consider all of that. So that's what egress and ingress, that mean when they trying to get in your plaza and when they trying to leave. So the plaza I was in, it actually had 3 different ways, because they had, soon as we signed the lease, maybe before we even opened up, when we kept going over there looking at the space, they started building this daycare. It's called Core Kids Academy. It wasn't there, and they built it. And so they started building that. So if you go up the hill where my plaza was, you can go out. That's one way you can go out. Then there's another way you can go out. And then you can go on down. It's actually 4 ways that you can get in and out my plaza. But on the street that my salon was at, Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, there's only, like if you're on the opposite side of the salon, like you're on the other side of the road, it was 2 ways to get in. But if you're driving on the same side that my salon is on, then it was 4 ways. If that makes sense to you guys. Like if you got to cross over the street, then it was 2 ways to get in and 4 ways to get out. So that's what they call EGRESS and INGRESS and EGRESS. So you want to look at all of that. And then you also want to look at like red lights, you know, because if your storefront property is near a red light, then that means that when people stop, you know, they gonna have an opportunity to look at your sign on your building, whatever it may be, Cakes by Ray Ray or something like that. Cupcakes by Ray Ray. I'm gonna be driving right up in there trying to get some too. Ray Ray, what's up, dog? Holla, I'll holla. Ray Ray, where you been, brother? Give me one of them German chocolate cupcakes back there. So yeah, definitely, you want to look at all of that. You want to consider all of that. So I'm gonna be doing this thing. I'll probably do it again, this entrepreneurship live in probably like 2 weeks. The next one though, I may do it on a Sunday. If you think you're really interested in it, please DM me, because I don't know what people need to know, what people want to know, what people trying to do. It helps me to help you if I know the help that you want or the help that you need. Because I don't mind sharing anything that I know. I feel like everything I went through with my business is for me to help somebody else. It's for me to help somebody else. So definitely do your research. And then, of course, like I was saying earlier, just like you birth your child and you name him or her, you have to come up with a business name, a logo, branding, like your colors. You know, what's your favorite colors? Or, you know, if your favorite colors are not what you want your brand to be, then you have to think of that. And then you have to think of, as far as your logo, like I've changed my logo. Maybe SUGARSALON, I've changed it about 3 times. Excuse me. I just changed it recently too. So 3 times. But before I opened SUGARSALON, I had the salon suite I told you about. It was called Blessed Tresses. I had it for 2 years. But I changed the name because it's okay for me. In my mind, it's okay to be called a religious name because it was just me. But then I said, okay, when I get my storefront, I don't want to discourage any of the stylists or anything. So Lord, give me a name. And I was thinking of all kind of names. I was like, it don't have to be religious. So, you know, you want to really, really put some thought into the name that you want to own your business. Now, when I came up with SUGARSALON, I was telling my husband, I said, honey, I done came up with a name. He was like, what? I said, it's what I call you all the time. He was like, what, honey? I was like, no. He was like, Richard? I'm like, no. So I said, I call you Sugar all the time. He like, you gonna name it Sugar? I said, yeah. I said, but God told me I can't put hair in it because that'll throw it off. He said it got to be Sugar Salon, not Sugar Hair Salon, because that'll throw the thing off. And then when you come up with a name too, you want it to be a catchy name. You want it to be something that people gonna remember. And not such a very long name, not so many 11 letters or nothing like that. You want it to be that where people, when they hear it, they know what it is. Because some businesses, you know, when you hear the name of it, you don't know what type of business that is. So you want it to be catchy, cute, modern, not over the top, not so many letters. And you know, you may come up with an acronym for it or something. But I really sought God on what to name the salon. So definitely name your colors, your logos. And be careful on Instagram, because I was just trying to use somebody that I was following on Instagram. I sent her the money and she ain't never sent me she never did the branding that she was supposed to do. And, you know, I'm really big on, you know, I've been owning a business, so I really didn't do my due diligence because I didn't know her. It was just somebody who was on my Instagram. I was on hers. So just be careful. You know, if you do pay somebody for any kind of branding, or you find them on Instagram and you don't know them personally, you know, and they trying to make you pay a lot of money up front or something like that, and you don't feel comfortable in your spirit about it, just don't do it. Because, you know, at the same time, we see people on Instagram, but we don't know who they are. We don't know if people have a legitimate business. Because now, you know, you see so many people got businesses on Instagram, so you don't know, you know, because a lot of people are leaving their jobs and they quitting their jobs and doing like online businesses, which is fine, but I'm just telling y'all, be careful. And another thing too, I just thought about, if you have a business currently, or if you're going to get one, then of course you're going to get social media pages. But just an FYI, these pages get hacked a lot. A lot. Like my Instagram page that I had for my coming location, this thing didn't even get hacked. It went beyond hack. Like, it disappeared. It disappeared. It disappeared. So my coming location, which is not far from where I live, I would have had that location 4 years. This coming August would have been 4 years. And I got that location. It's a salon suite. When I got it, I still had my storefront, and I thought I still had my team, and I thought of it as a way to have a second location without having to get another storefront. So I asked my team, I said, y'all, if I get a second location over here, will y'all work here? Because I don't want to get it, and y'all ain't. They were like, yeah, Miss Monya. So I got it. Because I saw that as another opportunity for them to make even more money. Because for me, business ownership was bringing in people's daughters, bringing in people's sons, and being able to be a blessing through my business. That's how I saw it. That's how I saw business ownership. That was my goal and my motive for having a business. I could have just stayed in corporate, sitting behind a desk with a suit on, looking like a snack, getting exceed expectations on every evaluation, getting promotions, going higher like we was talking about earlier, opportunities. I came out of all that to try to be a blessing to people. So the whole thing is you don't want to be naive. You don't want to go in. And that's why I want to do this entrepreneurship. Not to vent, not to complain, not to act like I'm a victim, because I'm good and my brand is still solid. It's been around so long. Since 2008. Because when you own a business, it's not going to be where you don't have a sleepless night. It's not going to be where everything is just hunky-dory. It's going to be times when your blood pressure going to be high, when you're going to be stressed, when people going to be working your nerve, when you're going to feel unappreciated, where you're going to feel like there's no gratitude or no thanks, where you're doing the most for people, but they feel like you're doing the less, At the end of the day, God, He knows all and He see all. So He know. It don't matter if 50 or 50,000 people go out here and say anything about your brand. As long as you do right by people and you sow a good seed, your brand will survive. Because God said you catch a thief, they got to repay sevenfold. So you can't, if you the type of person that's going to be worried about this, that, or the third, what people say and do and all of that, you won't survive. Because, business ownership is not for the faint at heart. Then you also have to, if you're trying to get, any type of business, you got to be concerned about the licenses, the certifications, the all of this stuff. Because when I open my store, like, when you open a storefront, you may just naively think that the city or the county that you open your business in, that they're going to send you a welcome package or a welcome kit. And they're going to tell you everything that you need to do and everything that you're responsible for paying for, or, as a business owner. They're not going to do that. Because some stuff I found out I had to pay every year. I had no clue. Because I had never had no storefront. How am I know? How am I know that? You get absolutely no kind of welcome package or nothing. You don't get nothing. So I remember one day this guy came in there with a badge looking so official. And he was like, "Where's the owner?" I'm in there, "Hey, how you doing? It's me, I'm the owner. How you doing? How your mama doing?" Then he was like, "You ain't paid your occupational taxes in over a year." I'm like, "Occupational taxes? What is that?" What is that? I'm paying the IRS. I'm paying for my business license. I'm paying my salon license. I'm paying for my cosmetology license. I got everything hanging behind the front desk on the wall. I'm paying for my sales and use so you can be tax exempt. I'm paying for, I got all of this stuff hanging on the wall behind my front desk. And then he come in there asking for some more money. Now I got to cut you. No, I'm joking. I'm just saying, y'all, if you trying to get a storefront, please do your due diligence. Please do your research, because they not going to tell you. They're going to just fall up in there and be asking for some money. So you have to pay, it's called occupational taxes. Occupational taxes. Pretty much you paying taxes just to work, just to be occupied. Because when you own a storefront, everybody wants some money. Like, everybody got their hand out to a sister. I'm like, what y'all want now? Y'all, all I want is some Popeyes and one of them cupcakes in the plaza. Can a sister have that? Y'all gonna leave me starving up in here. So they came in. I'm like, nobody ain't never told me that. So if you don't research, they not gonna send you a welcome package. SUGARSALON, welcome to the city of Duluth. Thank you for opening your business over here. No, they gonna fall up in there, like I said, with a badge on, looking like they about to lock you up. I'm like, what y'all want? So you not only pay that, you also have to pay taxes for, or I had to pay, or if you have a storefront, you're going to have to pay the occupational taxes, and you're also going to have to pay for the equipment that's in your place of business. Even though, like I told y'all, I had all this stuff before I even opened, it was paid for. We didn't owe a dime for that stuff. But every year, you got to pay taxes on everything that you have in your business. Like, meaning my hair dryers, my stations, my chairs, my everything that you have in your business to run your business, you have to pay taxes on that. Every year. Then you gotta, for cosmetologists, hairstylists, we have to renew our cosmetology license every 2 years. And then you have to renew your salon license through the cosmetology, Georgia State Board of Cosmetology. You have to renew that every 2 years. So you're paying for that. And then I was paying everything at my salon. Like my stylists, they didn't have to pay nothing. So I paid merchant card fees, shampoo, relaxer, color, keratin, amino, braiding hair, online booking, website. All they had to do is just come to work. Stand behind the chair and service whomever booked online with them or whomever I booked. They were independent contractors. And so one thing about that is sometimes in the hair industry, people will say that you are an independent contractor because they don't want to have to provide workman's comp and all this other expensive stuff that you have to provide when you have employees. So when you classify somebody as an employee, according to the IRS, that's when you may tell them they got to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's an employee who gets a W-2 form. So you're taking federal taxes, you're taking state taxes out. Just like maybe if you guys work in corporate, the same thing, where every year, at the end of the year, first of the year, you get a W-2 form. That whole thing. So a lot of times, salons may try to classify somebody as a 1099. A 1099 is similar to a W-2 form. Pretty much you're just reporting to the IRS what the person made working at your place of business. But the difference is with the 1099, you don't take out anything. You don't take out the federal nor the state or anything else. You just give your hairstylist a 1099 form, and they're responsible for reporting to the IRS what they made. But me or you as the owner, you also have to send in a form to the IRS every year showing what your team or your people made, your 1099 people made working for you for that year. So I had to send that in. Now whether or not they did their part, that was on them. But I had to send it in saying what they made working there, what each of them made working there. But the thing is, a lot of businesses, they don't want to they want to say they 1099. They want to classify people who work for them as 1099 contractors. Because if you call people 1099, then you ain't got to worry about, doing all this bookkeeping stuff or having, a CPA or somebody doing all of this stuff and taking the state, the federal. And then when you're calling people an employee and they get a W-2 form, you also have to provide them with workman's comp and other stuff too. So it makes it more expensive for a business owner to call somebody an employee. So that's why they'll try to call you a 1099. But the IRS, this is the IRS. The IRS is like, you can call them what you want to call them. It don't matter what you call them. It's about how you treat them. It don't matter what you call them. You can say all day long they 1099 contractors. But then if you tell them they got to work Monday through Saturday or Tuesday through Saturday, 8 to 6 or whatever, then that's an employee. You treat them like they W-2. You can't do that. If you giving them a 1099, they make their own schedule. They make their own hours. And that's how my team was. I could not tell them, oh, you got to take this client, or you got to take this client, or you got to work this day. You got to work from this day to this day, or you can't be off, or you only get a week vacation. No. They were 1099. So if a client called, I had to ask them, do you want to take this client? It's a lady call and she want this, that, and the third. You want to take her? They had to agree to be on my online booking where anybody could just go online and book with them. It's about the IRS. They look at how you treat the person. How you treat them is how you have to classify them. So a lot of salons, they like to say, oh, you 1099, but then they be telling you got to work specific days, specific hours. They be making you take clients. They be doing, that's not, And if you do that, and the IRS finds out that you have done that, then you can be fined and all kind of stuff. Nope. And it's a lot, because, when I used to interview people, hairstylists, they used to tell me that. They'd say they was contractor 1099, but I was like, well, did you have to work certain days? And they was like, yeah. I was like, did you have to work like this to this? They was like, yeah. So I didn't say anything to them, but I already knew. And so, whether it's ignorance, which ignorance just means not knowing, or what, I don't want no IRS calling me or sending me no letter because I'm ignorant and don't know. So these are the things that you find out before, especially if you're trying to have a storefront. Because you cannot own a storefront and just be in there working by yourself. Just you and your husband and 2 kids and the dog. Once you get a storefront, it's going to be so much overhead that you have to pay that you're going to have to hire people. And then if you're in an industry like the industry I'm in, where everybody who's you're going to be hiring, they're going to all want a salon too. I told you, ain't no way to climb the ladder. If you're a hairstylist, ain't no way to post out like it is in corporate America. There's no what you gonna post out for? What position? Where you gonna see it at? Where is it posted at? So they always gonna be wanting their own salon or their own salon suite. And they will get it by any means necessary. Any means necessary. Any means. They gonna have it. They gonna get it. And I've known stylists who have had 2, 3, 4 salons and they all was unsuccessful. They all failed, but that still didn't stop them because, again, at the end of the day, when you own, no matter what kind of industry you trying to open a business in, you got to know all this. This is stuff you have to know. Because if you naive and people know you naive, they're going to take advantage of that. You got to understand. Like, I had a client, her husband, he's a professor. He teach business law at a college in Gwinnett County. And he told me one day, he spoke to me, and he said, when you have a business and people know that you have a big database because they know that your business is very busy, he said they are going to be trying to come to work at your business so that they can gain access to that database, he said. Now, this man is a professor. He teaches business law. So, one thing, you know, even though I'm type A, even though I did a whole bunch of stuff in advance before we opened the salon, even though it seemed like I had it all together, the main thing that you want to always do before you open any kind of business, you want to know what are the risks. You want to talk to a lawyer. You need to meet with a lawyer. Because who wants to go through this whole birthing process that I keep telling y'all about? All these prayers, all this fasting, all this stroke and heart attack level, high blood pressure, all of this that you go through owning a business just to be left without. And then people just leave and take. You don't want that to happen. You want to know up front what kind of business model can you have and how can you protect your brand, your intellectual property, the baby that you birthed out of your womb into existence. What happens if somebody does this to you? What happens if somebody does that? You need to ask a lawyer. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know and you're naive, you're going to be traumatized. Because you done lost your baby. It's going to be traumatic. It's going to take 2, 3, 4. And you know, a lot of business owners, I feel like they go through this and I feel like they just be quiet as kept because they be traumatized. They be traumatized by the same people you love, supported, mentored, nurtured, whatever. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're in an industry where everybody wants that same thing, everybody, the whole industry want it, and then you decide that you want to open that type of business at that high risk. And when I'm talking about a business, I'm talking about a storefront. Because if you decide to do online business or start your business out of your home, you know, you're not going to be hiring people because your overhead ain't going to be high. I'm talking about people who trying to get a storefront, a commercial property, a brick and mortar. Talking about y'all. You got to meet with a lawyer. You got to do that up front. And that's the one thing I didn't do. Because with me being from Georgia and being, you know, a trustworthy person and being transparent and loving people and not having any problems or any qualms about pouring out, you know, my love and support for people. You know, I trust people. I feel like if people see that they being blessed and God is using somebody to bless them, I feel like they'll know it. But at the same time, you know, you can feel some type of way, but somebody else can be feeling a whole other way. And you as the business owner, you'll be the last to know. Why they gonna tell you? They not gonna tell you. They not. And they could be hunky-dory. They could be great. But if they just feel like, okay, we out, they gonna be out. And then this salon who was so busy And everybody was going to the salon, and now the salon gonna be like a ghost town. Because usually when one of them leave, the rest of them gonna go too. Then you're gonna be traumatized. You're gonna have to heal. It's no joke. Not for the faint at heart. But at the end of the day, if you try any kind of business you trying to get, you need to get with a lawyer. Just like, for example, Sister Locks. Y'all heard of them, Sister Locks. It's a trademark. So a long time ago, people used to call me and be asking, you know, when I had my storefront, people be calling and asking, do we do Sister Locks? And, you know, it's a trademark. So I'm a business owner. I mean, pretty much you can figure out how to do them. Even though I had never been to the class. And I could have just been like, yeah, girl, come on in. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do unto others as I would have others do unto me. Like, why I want to sow that seed in somebody's business and not expect to reap a bad harvest. So I used to tell people, no, I don't. It's a trademark, and I don't have the trademark release. I have the release now, but you don't really see me posting about, you know, Sister Locks. But it's a trademark because businesses do what they have to do. And it may seem harsh, you know, if you're not the business owner, it may seem like, why they doing all that? You know, if the customer want to go, they can go. But the whole thing about the no-compete agreement is it don't last but 1 year. A year. That ain't nothing. A year nowadays be gone in 3 months. You turn around and the whole year is gone and it seems like it's 3 months. So would you rather risk breaking the law just to get Ray and them to come over there so you can braid their hair? To me, it ain't worth it. But to some people, it might be. If they feel like, you know, they want to open the same type of business that you have and they don't have no clientele, then what? They going to feel like they got no choice. Because you got to look at it from your perspective, but you also got to look at it from their perspective. You can't just think about you and what you would do and what you would not do and the integrity that you have. You got to think about what would they do. Like they used to be talking about WWJD, what would Jesus do? Because if you be naive, then people will know that you're naive. They'll be like, you know, they'll use your trust against you. And then I don't want to see nobody traumatized. Because if you have any team or people that have worked with you and they have worked with you for many years, they're going to be like your family. So it's not only losing the child that you birthed out of your spiritual womb, which is your business, but you are also losing who you feel are like your family in the natural. It's 2 losses. And you're traumatized. It's traumatic. It's traumatic. Now, I don't want to see that happen to nobody at all. So any kind of information I can give, I'm giving it. It take people 2, 3, 4, 5 years to heal. Like it's a barber who works in the suites where I work. He was just telling me he had a storefront barbershop. I had no clue. Because I don't even know him. He just started working over there. And, you know, I was like, oh, I said, you like it here? He was like, yeah. I said, yeah, I used to have a storefront. He said, where? What? He said, I said, down the street. He said, what was the name of it? I said, SUGARSALON. He said, oh, Sugar? I said, yeah. He was like, oh. So he knew about my salon. Because all the advertising that we used to do, because I made God a promise. Anybody you bring to work here, They're going to get supported. They're going to get mentored. They're going to get nourished. They're going to get love. My husband going to help them in every way he can with their car. We're going to do this unto the Lord. Unto G-O-D. And that's what we did. So as long as you do it, but at the end of the day, it's like losing a child. Traumatic. Very traumatic. I can only talk about it now without crying because God wants me to help somebody else. Because like I said earlier, every test that we pass, it becomes a testimony. And he said we are delivered by the blood and the testimony. Gotta be both. But God ain't gonna leave you hanging. But you have to definitely, because you don't want to be naive about stuff and find out later. So if you talk to like a business lawyer, somebody who, deal with business, you got to do that. Don't be naive. It's different if you're just gonna work alone. But once you start hiring people, you don't know the integrity of people. You don't know their criminal history that you're gonna do a background check. You don't know what people got going on. You have no clue. You bringing people into your place of business, into your brand. You welcome them with open arms. And then you got to remember that some industries, everybody want the same thing. So they're going to be in there seeing you be so successful and seeing that you doing so well with something that they also want too. It's just like when you were a kid and you saw your friend had a bike and you go home, Mama, Daddy, Ray, he got a new bike. And you like, oh yeah? Yeah, I want it too. I want a bike too. Or you got a sibling and your little sibling playing with your little sister playing with her doll. And then you try to take the doll. And you like, that's mine. And she like, that's my doll. And you're like, I want it. It's mine. I want it. They're mine. It's like that. So it's almost like you got 10, 15 people, but they all want that same thing. And they're in there with you every day. And they see that you have something that they are trying to get to. And like I said, hairstylists, we can't post out. We can't send a resume and post out and be like, oh, I'm going to post for this job tomorrow. Or, oh, I'm going to post for this one. We can't do that. So if we don't do if we never own a storefront salon or a salon suite, we're going to feel almost like a failure. You're going to feel like you ain't went nowhere. You went nowhere fast. Because you came out the 12th grade and you went in cosmetology school 1 year, and then you was the HNIC after that. You out of school. But everybody else who doing these 4 years degrees, they still in school. And then when they get their 4-year degree and they come out, they ain't no HNIC. They got a supervisor, a manager, a director, a CEO, a COO, a CFO, a OOO, a 1, 2, 3, a ABC. They got all of these folks that they are held accountable to. All of these people that they are held accountable to. That they can't be just falling up in there late or falling up in there half lit or falling up in there looking any kind of way like a rich undone, or falling up in there, being insubordinate or whatever. They got all of this chain of command. Everybody, when you hit that badge on that door and walk through the door, they know what time you clocked in, they know what time you got there, they know what time you left. But in this industry, you the HNIC. You go to school 1 year, you come out, you your own boss. So you been like they talking about hashtag boss. What they be saying, boss up or whatever. You been that since you was about 18, 19. When you're a hairstylist. You been that from the jump. And you may have the worst work ethics. You may not know how to be on time nowhere, but now you in an appointment-based business where you always got to be on time, and you don't even know when the trump of God sounds, you're going to be late, you know. You just won't show up on time to nothing, even if somebody giving you the customers so you can make money to take care of your child, to pay your rent, to pay your car note, and you late. But now you want your own. Incredible. So it's always going to be that. And if it's an industry that you're in, that you want to open a business in, and you know that everybody in that industry, they want that same thing, then you got to think about the type of people that you're going to have to hire. And then you got, you know, do background checks on people. Check people criminal history. Make people pee in a cup. Because at the end of the day, are you want to risk losing your baby, your child that you birthed out of your womb? You want to take that risk? Because once it's done, it's done. Once people get together and they do it, it's done. And you sitting there crying, you being traumatized, you reliving this all over again. Thanks for joining. You trying to figure it out. Like, oh my God, like what did this? You're in shock and dismay. And you beating yourself up like, what did I do? And then you trying to figure out. Because at the end of the day, you cannot change nobody. You can only change you.